Over to you.
From Newton, Iowa, it is round... I don't remember the round number, but that's showing you the vibe here. Race 2 of this doubleheader for Hy-Vee INDYCAR weekend. It's the two-step 250 as we welcome you into the commentator box. Jackson Lambros joined alongside you. We do not have Josh or JT with us this weekend, so you're getting a bunch of different J's joined alongside Jordy as well as Omi helping us out, streaming with Megan technically, but not really. Let's go around the horn here. Omi helping us out, kind of the interim fill-in here, but awesome to have you again. I know your knowledge isn't 100% going into this weekend, but what are the vibes so far?
It's INDYCAR. Should be exciting. Looking forward to it. Cannot wait for this one to begin.
Lovely. Jordy, I know you were watching yesterday. This is not entirely what we were hoping for, especially with the repave has kind of become single lane racing. What are the thoughts going into today?
Yeah, I mean, Iowa has always been kind of dull from the time I've been watching, but certainly we got a kind of interesting race at the end. Pato seemed like he was catching McLaughlin at the end, so
100%.
Let's see how he does today.
100% was a very, very close race towards the end there between O'Ward and McLaughlin. Herta was seeming like the one to beat until about the middle caution of the race there, where Total Cinema during the first kind of person to pit here gave the win away. Let's go trackside for the command. New hybrid system are giving the drivers the ability to fire, but
you want big energy.
still
The
playing
governor
it
just
safe.
gave it to us. She's ready. She's excited to go for this second 250 lap race of the weekend.
Crew members now finally clearing out as McLaughlin now leading off of pole below the number 10 after crashing out, bringing out that caution and essentially ruining Herta's day yesterday. Is back out. After that, it's Dixon alongside Herta. Rosenquist, Rossi, Award, Ray Hall, Malukas, Canapino in the top 10. After that, Nolan Siegel, the rookie, in 11th. Kyle Kirkwood, 12th. Linus Lundqvist in 13th. Joseph Newgarden, who worked his way up the field big time, he's in 14th. VK is 15th. Could potentially work his way up as well for another top 5. After that, it's Grosjean, Fittipaldi, Lundgaard, and Ferrucci. We're getting an early view of the onboard shots. Interesting choice for the visor for Newgarden was originally using the clear visor last night, despite getting absolutely blinded by the glare, but has decided to go back to the tinted visor for today, bringing us the Astemo onboard. Again, Jordy, great drive for him yesterday. Went from well outside of the top 10 into 4th.
Yeah, and in this track, especially where you cannot really overtake, I think the main help he had was the strategy, and I think that's what's going to be more crucial today, especially if he wants to keep reducing points to the championship lead. And especially all eyes are on Alex Palou. Let's see if he doesn't make another mistake again, which I really hope he doesn't.
Easily the man of the hour. Crashed out with a 50-point and change lead at the time. And after crashing out, that brings that lead to about 30. So
37
really,
points, yeah.
37. Thank you, Jordy. So that really kind of makes this everyone's game just a bit more now. It's definitely out of that sort of one race range now. We kind of talk about that a lot, where most you can win in one weekend is 1 point. But from second here, he's got a really good position to kind of get back to work and potentially get that gap growing again.
Exactly. And to be honest, Palou's biggest strength aren't the ovals. So I think he's going to have a very difficult time in this rest of the season. He got we got 6 ovals in 8 races. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be our championship decider when we arrive to Nashville in September.
Had a lot of new faces for Dale Coyne Racing. Here's another one, but not one that's necessarily new to IndyCar. Connor Daly, man who was supposed to fill in for Jack Harvey yesterday, but was unable to get the time initially due to requirement for special sessions, but is now filling in for the medically out Jack Harvey. What can Alex Palou do to potentially maintain this championship lead? Can Joseph Newgarden do anything further back? Scott McLaughlin just won his first oval race. Can he do it back-to-back and sweep the weekend? Let's find out, and let's go racing at Iowa. Green flag flies. Already early stack-ups further behind, 3 wide, but McLaughlin will be the first to make it to turn 1. Kyle Kirkwood hangs it low and is trying to make a couple of early moves further back. Ward on the inside of Rossi trying to make an early move as well. They'll go side by side. Same for Agustin Canapino trying to work his way into the top 10 alongside Romain Grosjean. It's 2 teammates going at it against each other. Lap 1 of running done right now, and it is McLaughlin leading as Kyle Kirkwood and Joseph Newgarden going at it right now. Newgarden trying to make it done around the outside, gets it. Falling back early as we're watching Will Power make the same move. Go on, Jordy.
Yeah, no, not really big moves at the start. I think this was expected following the yesterday's start, but
100%.
Yeah, let's see how it starts to shape up. As we see there, Marcus Ericsson making a move on his fellow name, Marcus Armstrong,
who is
Ganassi car, who was his former teammate, by the way.
Former Ganassi driver.
Yeah, exactly.
Took a while, almost took half a lap there, but gets it a done deal. That's currently a scrap battle, though, for 22nd after Ericsson just barely kept it out of the wall. Guy's been struggling all weekend. Meanwhile, here's a guy that's been locked in all weekend, Santino Ferrucci, getting around Rinus VeeKay. That's, again, a guy who we've seen be a really big mover since Mid-Ohio and has shown pace here.
And he finally made that move on VeeKay. Santino Ferrucci, remember yesterday, he was just a lap away from taking P5 from the Dodge driver, who scored his first top 5 since 2022. So good race from him yesterday.
Newgarden all the way up into 10th. Romain Grosjean on the move. Watch Linus Lundqvist as he tries the inside of Canapino. He'll think wiser and back out of it.
Exactly. Very smart move there. As we see now, Nolan Seigel, who is trying the move now on Lundqvist. He fails to do so. Nolan in his first, now second oval race in IndyCar. Let's see how he does today.
Siegel still an ongoing story we've been talking about. Jordy, now the new guy at McLaren. David Malukas, rough start yesterday at Iowa, sitting in 12th, but in what we felt like has been so many positives, this has been kind of an early slip as we watch Ferrucci slingshot past the inside here of Nolan Siegel.
Yeah, what a move there, Ferrucci. And yeah, it has been a very difficult weekend for Maluka so far. I mean, he had good speed in qualifying, but it wasn't enough for a good start in race 1. Of course, in the first lap, he crashed and collected both Juncos cars. But he said he learned from his rookie mistake yesterday, and now he's solidly running in P12, despite him starting in P9. So let's see how his race starts to shape from now, as we are still on board with Nolan Seigel. Well, not anymore.
Atta babe. 10 laps in, McLaughlin already getting that gap on Alex Palou, about 0.7 seconds and change. After that, Scott Dixon, Colton Herta still holding on. Man, that guy needs points badly. Felix Rosenqvist flying the banner for Mike Shank. Then it's the 2 Aero McLarens of Rossi and O'Ward. Graham Rahal running strong, had really good pace on that second lap in qualifying. He's in 8th. We started with one pink car in 9th. Now it's the other. Kyle Kirkwood, Joseph Newgarden rounds out your top 10. Was joking with JT yesterday. I don't think too many people pointed it out, but that Iowa lap 1 move was very reminiscent of the Malukas, or excuse me, of the Rosenqvist incident, as we're watching what almost ended Herta's day for good there yesterday, which is very similar to what Malukas did. Just dropped barely that front left in the apron. Managed to keep it together, Jordy.
Yeah, what a save there from Colton Herta yesterday. And as you were saying, yeah, Malukas looked like he made the exact same mistake as the guy he replaced in the team, Tom Blomqvist, in the Indy 500. In the same lap 1, he made the same mistake, collected a couple of cars, but let's hope he doesn't get dropped now.
Think that he's made it another race, so I think that's already a fairly good sign compared to the last guy that did that, but
exactly,
already been a good start already for David Malukas. Obviously got that car in the top 12 at Mid-Ohio. Has consistently been running up front actually with Mike Shank. It's been a really strong 1-2 punch when you throw in the qualifying effort and now the top 10 running that Fro's got.
Yeah, a big step up for Meyer Shank Racing this year. I mean, completely new lineup. They got rid of Elio Castroneves and Simon Pagano, and it was like a step up. Yeah, 2 drivers on their latter years of their career. Now they got a young driver and a driver that is in his prime, and they have done a solid jump. And I think that's reflected on Felix Rosenqvist staying in the top 10 of the championship, despite a couple of troubled races.
100%. So we were talking about Ferrucci potentially working his way up. He hasn't moved quite yet, but he remains in 15th right now behind Lundqvist. Siegel trying to potentially close that gap. So extended running, I think, is really going to be the factor here, which isn't necessarily something we saw. Obviously, this new repaved lower lane has really made it hard for cars to close the gap and to overtake in general, but that could change with lap traffic as Felix Rosenqvist makes a look inside Colton Herta. We'll have to wait, unfortunately.
Almost made a move there on the American driver, Felix Rosenqvist, who is having a really solid race. I mean, my issue with Felix is that he has had amazing qualifying sessions, but it seems like he never shows up in the race. But looks like that's changing now, as he now still on the hunt of Colton Herta and why not a top 3 as well?
100%, definitely possible this early in the race here, but when you've got a guy like Scott Dixon and especially Alex Palou in front of you, I mean, this is a strong top 3 to crack into. But if anyone could, it's the former Aero McLaren driver and one Formula E driver and one guy that almost made it into Formula 1 in Colton Herta.
Yeah, the good old days of Felix Rosenqvist in Formula E. A very solid driver, and he made the switch to INDYCAR with Ganassi in 2019. He won with them in 2020, but decided that Aero McLaren was his best bet. And we didn't really see Felix's full potential with the orange team. But it's really good to see that he had like a renaissance with the Meyer Shank Racing outfit, as we are on board here. Well, not anymore. As we see now, Alex Palou chasing Scott McLaughlin as Felix Rosenqvist is still attacking Colton Herta.
He's closed that gap a bit more now, just about 0.2 seconds as we get past lap 27. sort of opening that gap a bit more here. Rossi and Award being a bit more reserved. I think they're playing teammate with one another. Meanwhile, Lundqvist battling with Ferrucci. I'm not sure if that was for position, Jordy, but that might have been an attempt for Ferrucci to try the outside to get past him there in turn 2.
Yeah, that was clearly for position. They almost touched there, as Colton Herta is still there, pressured by Felix Rosenqvist. Let's see what the Swedish driver can do in the next couple of laps. He seems like he's way faster than the American, but as I said, this track is very difficult to overtake. It reminds me a lot of what Texas was before 2022,
100%.
but in a smaller version. So let's hope we can have a good showdown by the end of the race. But because at the moment we aren't having it.
Been a bit of we've been spoiled with some really, really good Iowa races, and the repave has not been kind to it. For anyone saying it's the hybrid, it's really not. The hybrid is a potential with the other ovals, Milwaukee and Gateway coming up, just because there's more of an opportunity to lift off. But talking to the drivers on Friday, this is pretty much a flat out track 98% of the time, and momentum isn't something that necessarily goes up and down, and you don't really get a lot of opportunities to recharge that battery unless it's pit in and pit out.
Definitely not a hybrid friendly track, this Iowa Oval. Very short track, always flat out, so yeah, no chance to recharge the battery. So it's not really a good track to showcase the new system INDYCAR has brought in the middle of the season. And if we remember yesterday, they had a lot of issues in qualifying for many drivers, including Colton Herta. So let's see that stuff hopefully doesn't repeat in the next oval races.
I will say this though, Jordy, if we're going back to Mid-Ohio when this stuff debuted, in all of the anxiety going into it, especially when you had guys like Alex Rossi saying, if we ran this at St. Pete, less than half of us would finish. Sure, we had that issue with Scott McLaughlin, but for us to run pretty much the entire rest of that race with 0 retirements, with all cars technically on track, I mean, that's a huge sigh of relief for the entire IndyCar paddock.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a very good decision to postpone the hybrid system, because if they were rushed at all, I think it would be a disaster. So it was a good decision by IndyCar. The hybrid system has worked just fine. I don't think it has affected how the racing works out. And yeah, I think it's a very good addition for the future of IndyCar. And let's see how it keeps developing in the next years. As we see there, Felix Rosenqvist is still all over the pack of Colton Herta. He won't let him run away.
100%, and these two going at it have kind of closed the gap here to the two Ganassi guys, Palou and Dixon, now just about 0.7 seconds away, which is shorter than the gap that these guys have to the leaders. Rossi and Award still independently back. I want to say they're playing the fuel game here with one another, as everyone unfortunately is kind of playing conga line right now. Felix Rosenqvist might have a good shot here, as I'm not sure if he's using any energy. Again, it's so hard to tell with so many guys kind of deploying it and using it in different ways and having different ways of seeing the energy. But he is right over the gearbox of the 26 right now.
Yeah, he's on fire, Felix, there, as we see now that the top 8 is still the same as it was at the start of the race. So no big changes. And crucially, Palou is in second place. As the points stand at the moment, Alex Palou is first with 369 points. Second, Scott Dixon with 293. Third, Will Power with 292. And in fourth, we got Pat O'Ward with 285. And fifth, we got Colton Herta with 282.
How about that?
And sixth, we got Scott McLaughlin with 277. So very tight in the top of the championship. And I think Pato will need to start climbing up the field by the second half of the race if he wants to keep within striking distance of Palou, because at the moment it looks like Palou has a 76-point lead on second place.
Wow, well, I'll tell you what, if McLaughlin has any chance, it's right now as he's in the lead, and he's already shown really, really strong pace on these ovals. Just really curious here, Omi, is there any chance Tom Gaymore can sub us out for like 30 seconds?
We should be able to do that indeed. So we'll transfer over to the battle screen and we will hopefully pass over to Tom Gaymore.
My name's Sam Shelton. Said yesterday seemed like an easy two. Well, it wasn't easy to stop, but in the end, there was a bit of fuel saved, but the yellows really helped. We had so many yellows in certainly the end, but in key periods of the race. And one driver that doesn't want to be reminded of that yellow, Colton Hurt, was so strong yesterday in the top three positions, having secured his first oval pole position and then pitted and looking for the undercut. Palou brought the yellows out with his crash. As Herta was in pit lane, he went a lap down. He got the wave round in the end, but he dropped from the front of the field to the back. And I so often say it's a game of snakes and ladders, and that's a prime example of a horrible day with the luck for Colton Herta. Well, 46 laps completed, and we're heading for green flag pit stops at this stage. Scotty Mack still leads.
We've been telling you about this all year long. You have a chance with thanks to Hy-Vee to drive away with a new Chevy Corvette. Grab your mobile device, scan that QR code that you see on your screen. There's been
You heard it from Tom Gaymore, and you didn't quite hear it from Lee, but for what seems like the first time this weekend, we're going to have some green flag pit stops coming your way, assuming we stay green, fingers crossed. Scott McLaughlin remains your leader with almost a second lead over Alex Palou. Dixon, Herta, Rosenquist, your top five. It's Jackson Lambros with you alongside Jordi Alvarez. We want to thank you guys for joining us on the stream. We know you have a lot of choices in Nerds Yapping About Race Cars, so we thank you for choosing JB Motorsports. Felix Rosenquist still at it with Colton Herta. He's really closed that gap now, but is just waiting for a chance to potentially strike, potentially for a mistake here. Has been really early on entry, trying to get a run, and now it looks like the two McLarens behind is kind of turned on the Jets. Rossi now into view, trying to dig here right before pits.
It seems impossible to overtake now without someone crashing into the wall. As you said, we are about to get green flag pit stops in what it seems like a very uncharacteristically clean race, isn't it?
I think it was a little bit of, obviously we don't want the chaos of yesterday, but also I think just how warm the track is compared to yesterday. I know I'm saying that while it's overcast here in Newton, but cool track, obviously, especially at night, gives this so much more grip, and daytime running, I was hoping was going to be a tad more of an equalizer, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, at least for now, unless we get some direct sunlight.
It seems like a copy-paste of last night's race, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to get more interesting by the end of it. As we say, this is INDYCAR. Nothing is normal, nothing is certain.
Right.
But what is certain is always the pace of Penske in the ovals, as we see Newgarden already in 10th, as we ride on board with Will Power, another Penske driver, and McLaughlin that is still keeping Alex Palou behind.
McLaughlin, who is, as he's running right now, kind of inching himself still in this championship picture. Newgarden still no factor, just obviously you're defending Indy 500 champion, but the hangover has been strong with him. Really long string of bad results following the month of May. Will Power finally breaking that drought, but we're watching this replay here from last night. Just some poor spacing on the restart and knocks out the Brazilian Pietro Fittipaldi. Jordi, just an uncharacteristic style of driving there from the Indy 500 winner and the Indy champ.
Yeah, and especially this season, because he has been way superior than last year. Of course, we know he had some issues off track last time, but this year he has been driving on a very high level, so that kind of mistakes is... he has made us believe that they are not part of him anymore. He was running in second place in the championship. We got the championship leader out, and he just simply couldn't capitalize on that advantage. So very weird to see from Power, as we are now with Scott Dixon.
He's closed that gap a little bit to his, Chip Ganassi teammate Alex Palou. About the same to McLaughlin. Scotty Mack still your fastest man on track. Best lap speed of the day so far, 163.5. For reference, we were getting into the 172s the other night, or into the 75s last night.
At the moment, the Penske, the number 3 Penske, the 33, looks unbelievably unstoppable. Like, I don't think anyone will be able to beat them. At the end of the day, I think Pato was about to do so yesterday, but it was just very difficult to overtake. And that combo of a difficult track to overtake and a fast car, I think that's scary for everyone that isn't Scott McLaughlin at the moment.
I think another factor that we haven't really talked about, which was discussed during testing, 10% less downforce than usual this weekend. I think that was both a safety choice considering just how much speed the repave were giving these guys, as we're on board with one of the guys that was kind of the voice of testing. But also maybe a strategy choice, less aerodynamic grip, Jordy, maybe a bit more of a chance for degradation as... Jordy, I'm not crazy. Am I seeing droplets there on the onboard here for award?
A bit, yeah. It looks kind of dirty, the camera there. I don't think it's rain. I hope it's not. But yeah, it seems weird to see a bit of drops on the camera. Yeah, I can see them too.
Again, it is slightly overcast right now. Curious if that's actually a factor, Omi, as top 5 still remains McLaughlin, Palou, Dixon, Herta, and Fro.
0 overtakes in the top 8 at the moment.
Gosh. Yikes. So I get why they did this partial repave, right? When you have Cup going and you maybe don't have the time or capital to get that done. But I mean, the discussion after this race has to be a full repave because we cannot keep racing like this.
Yeah, it looks like they never learned from Texas, which is kind of weird. It took them 4 years to put a decent racetrack, and as soon as we get a great race, it gets dropped off the calendar. So really, really sad stuff there for Texas.
And I think the anxiety there with Texas and kind of what that brings with this is, do we want to see a full repave? Is that just going to grip up the track so much that we have a sort of Texas scenario where every lap is a matter of thousands and no one's really able to pass one another?
Yeah, it's a strange dilemma. At the end of the day, but I think it's stuff that has to be done, because when you do it on half or don't do it at all, we get races like today where nothing ever happens.
Exactly.
And I think that's not really cool, and especially for a series that is INDYCAR, that is one of the most competitive in the world, that we get so many great races, and that we are the fans spoiled that we get a great race every weekend. We see INDYCAR on track, so something has to be done.
Again, not to say that Iowa or even INDYCAR hasn't put on good shows here, especially on the ovals. And I think there's a lot to be excited about, especially with Gateway, which has consistently been a banger. Oh my God. No, we got Lance Strolled. I know everyone else is on commercial, but we were about to see Fro potentially pass Herta, and we just got faded out of
He got sent to the shadow realm. What are we looking at now?
We got to see Post Malone, Jordy. We need to know who's performing this weekend at INDYCAR weekend.
Oh my God.
So that move didn't look done, but it looked like there was a chance. Oh my gosh.
So the positions remained the same. Scott McLaughlin leads from Alex Palou, followed by Scott Dixon there, Colton Herta, and Felix Rosenquist closing the top 5.
Jordy, if you can check the camera for me, as yeah, you heard it from him. Still everybody the same right now. Fortunately, a couple of guys moving up early on. Grosjean, Ferrucci, Lundqvist. Some solid examples there. But inside the top 10, it's been pretty stagnant. Only exception has been Felix Rosenquist trying to get something done with Colton Herta, but
Trying to spice this race up, has to be said. Yeah, so kudos there to Felix for spicing this show up.
100%. I'm kind of anxious, though. I'm wondering if trying to close this gap, if he's just cooking his tires trying to do so.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's probably doing it. He doesn't seem like he's managing. I mean, everyone else in the top 10 consistently in their gaps. Doesn't look that they are attacking. And Felix is just there, look all over the back of Colton. I think he wants to be within striking distance. If he cannot pass him on the track, I think he will do it on the pits if he has a better stop than the American.
I'll tell you what, he's got the pace right now. He's the third fastest man on track, just a tenth of a mile an hour off of Alex Palou in third, so he can bring it up to the front here as we watch a replay here for Pato O'Ward.
What did he do? Oh, he's wiping his eyes.
Visor open.
All right.
Maybe trying to manage the heat here, Jordy. We know that's been an issue.
Yeah, we saw some of the drivers in the pre-race with their cooling suits. So, yeah, it's been quite a heated race so far. Maybe not on on-track action, but in temperature, absolutely. As we are on board here with Graham Rahal.
Interesting enough, O'Ward is one of the guys who's openly said, I'm not about the cool suit. Adds weight, would rather maybe get in the extra calories and just kind of feel the burn, more or less.
And
there are a couple guys that kind of go the metal route of doing that, but especially since we've had the addition of the aero screen, cockpit temperatures have just skyrocketed in these IndyCars.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see now, the Homecross for the first time in this race, Roman Grosjean there, ahead of David Malukas and ahead of his teammate Agustin Canapino, which is the one we are seeing right now. Remember, last night, David, rookie mistake, he wiped out both Homecross, and he got the Argentinian team working after hours trying to get both cars ready for today's race. I think they had a shakedown this morning to see if everyone was okay, if everything was okay with the car, and it looked like it is because they are running solidly in 11th and 13th.
I believe that might have been the session that Connor was also able to do the special session that he was technically unable to do yesterday due to concert time taking up the track here. So we brought on board with Scott McLaughlin. I feel like also the anxiety now, unfortunately, is online when you have any driver hit a Juncos, but especially Augustine.
Yeah,
you've
exactly.
gotta kind of take it to the fan base.
I was checking the comments last night. Surprisingly, they were all very kind.
Did not seem heated at all.
Yeah, I think it was more because he apologized, and apparently Pourchaire didn't.
He was very proactive in the interview yesterday, apologized on air.
Yeah, I think he knows. I think he knows what's up.
I think everyone, to an extent, kind of does, yeah.
So he said, well, I'm assuming everything, and that's it. Still lap 86, and no one dives into the pits. Oh, okay. Connor Daly proving me wrong there, as he's the first driver of the race to pit.
No, you see, Jordy, this is great because we know you have what it takes to be a commentator because you're getting the curses out immediately. Like zero time wasted. There's an onboard. You're going away from it. No one's pitting. Harvey's in. This is good. No, this is good.
This is my debut commentating a race, and I already got the commentator's course. Unbelievable scenes.
This is great.
Exactly. Now, Conor Daly out of the pits. Let's see who will follow him, because I think this will set us a benchmark. As we see there, he's going to get in front of the leaders, between the leaders, I mean. As we see there, McLaughlin, Palou, Dixon, all with clear air, and they are still maintaining themselves out of the pit lane, so let's see. I don't think it's going to be a top 5 driver, the first to pit from group in particular.
It's 100% going to be a cat and mouse game for who comes to pit lane among these guys, and I think that is really going to be kind of the factor now with the way this race is shaping up. I'll tell you what though, Jordy, if we get enough green flag running here, and watch me jinx this, if we get enough green flag running, we could potentially see lap traffic become a factor. But we will have to see. That was something we really, unfortunately, didn't see until just towards the tail end there as the field kind of caught up to Kyle Kirkwood. But a lot of guys have kind of stayed on the lead lap here.
Yeah, exactly. I think in past years, I think the lap traffic has become a factor way earlier than it is today. Remember the 2022 races where Newgarden and Pato had to manage through the traffic, who to pass, who not to pass, to have a solid result. We're not seeing that today, as I think Rahal has dived into the pits. Yeah, he has.
Yes, he has.
The first
guy in the top 10. Yeah. First top 10 driver. Was a little bit of anxiety here in pit row, especially after Mid-Ohio, if we had guys struggling to exit pit lane. Only one to, unfortunately, have that issue was Palou, as oval specialist Ed Carpenter joins him, then Pietro Fittipaldi, Nolan Siegel, and Stingray Robb also going to pit lane. Rahal still remains the only driver to come in from the top 10.
Stingray Robb, what a name. What a name.
Do you know what state he's from?
He's from Idaho now.
You're from a landlocked state, and you're named Stingray. I don't know. That seems sacrilegious. As the leader, Scott McLaughlin into pit lane.
Finally.
Jordan, I don't think we were expecting this.
Yeah, no. He's followed there by Colton Herta, and as I said, Felix Rosenquist. Let's see if the striking distance of the Meyer Shank driver is enough to overtake the Andretti driver. I think Scott McLaughlin has this lead in the back if the team doesn't screw this up. But now the new order is Palou, Rossi, or Ward, which I think will follow Palou into the pits. As we see there, Scott McLaughlin leaving the pit lane. We see there Colton Herta now with a bigger gap between himself and Rosenquist.
Looks like maybe trouble there for Scott Dixon. Jordy, I'm not sure what happened specifically, but he was slow to get off the jack. Same with Ferrucci, as both of those guys well over 5 seconds. As now we're seeing everyone in pit lane.
Yeah,
Linus Lundqvist, Scott Dixon, Malukas.
Palou and Ward is still outside. No, yeah, he's pitting. He stayed a lap late, and let's see in what place he rejoins the track. Palou still outside the track, but let's remember the Indy 500. Pato was nowhere for the second half of the race, and by the end he was fighting for the lead. So let's see what strategy are McLaren cooking right now.
And you could argue the same thing for not even Mid-Ohio, or not just Mid-Ohio, but last race, where he's been able to kind of close these gaps late in the race. As we see Joseph Newgarden come to the pits. Tell you what, I liked. Canapino. No, my gosh, more trouble, Augustine Canapino. As
really
he is
bad weekend for Agustin. He was on for a good result, and unfortunately,
is
of
that
course,
Palou involved as well? Jordy, I think that might be.
His car looks hard. Oh my god!
It looks like he's kind of sidestepping it into pit row here.
Yep. He looks,
and that could just be the alignment, but bruised. It's hard for me to tell right now.
Yeah, he looks kind of bruised, but yeah, exactly. It's hard to tell right now.
Fueler's slow to exit there. 9 second stop. That's going to be a big. That's going to be a big issue there.
And there was Still no yellow flag, so maybe it wasn't that bad. What happened to Canopy? Yeah, yellow flag. There it is.
We're
There
gonna
it is,
throw
the
it.
yellow
Yeah.
flag. Yeah, finally. I don't think the graphics are up to date, but I think we are on for a really interesting race, and I think this could help Will Power, who was in the lead, jet to pit. So let's see. Oh, no,
100%.
pit lane's closed. Yeah. Let's see how much they take to take Canapino's car out of the way.
Doesn't look like the chaos of Pietro, who was up in the wall yesterday, but huge luck for the 12 and potentially the 10 here.
Oh, he
As
just spun on his own.
Canapino lost it on his own there on pit exit. Cold tires,
Oh, what
less
is
rubber
Ericsson?
in
Oh,
surface. And that is a bad weekend gone worse, unfortunately, for Agustin Canapino, who obviously, Jordy, had issues during practice, almost collided with Scott Dixon in the pit lane. Failed to finish yesterday. Will be a weekend to forget for the Argentinian.
yeah, and he was on for a strong result. Of course, he had a decent qualifying, but for both races, he was running 13th. We don't know how much he would have gained after the stops, but yeah, very unfortunate for the Argentinian that has shown prowess in the ovals.
So I want to really get the points as they run now here, Jordy, if you can grab that. But your top 10 at the moment is Will Power, Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin, Dixon. Herta's now become a huge factor in this race again in 5th. Then it's Award, Rahal, Rossi, Rosenquist, and who else but Joseph Newgarden in the top 10. Eyes back on Canapino, though, as he is trying to get that car back into pit row and potentially get that car back out.
So the points at the moment, we got Alex Palou still in the lead, 370 points. Will Power, second, 38 points behind. Third, Scott Dixon, 80 points behind. And in fourth, Pato Award with 83 points behind. Kerta in fifth with 90 behind. And in sixth, Scott McLaughlin with 108.
Power up into second provisionally then, and this is a really, really big opportunity for Will, obviously.
Yeah, he's still yet to pit.
Still yet to pit, but is essentially, I'm not sure if he's technically going to get a free pit stop here, as it'll essentially send him to the back, but it'll put him on an alt strategy and definitely let him play the fuel game here till the end.
Yeah, apparently, from McLaughlin downwards, they are a lap behind, apparently. So let's see if that plays into Power's hands. Of course, we know that a pit stop here costs you a lap.
Yeah.
But that's pretty normal with the short oval that we're running at. So as he dives into the pits now, let's see where he gets out of them.
So Palou then becomes your leader. That'll promote Kirkwood into the top 10. As I am curious to see how much that will actually help or hurt him.
I think this will help him a lot, I think. Because he's still in the lead.
Right, because he is still technically a lap up. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, well, now Palou goes around him.
Now Palou goes around him, yeah.
Second, and I think he's gonna stay second.
Let's see, because that's Marcus Ericsson right next to him. See, now I'm insanely confused.
Are the graphics tripping or something? I have no idea.
I'm not entirely sure. There we go. Timing's always weird when it comes to short tracks because you have 90 different things going on. Here was a close incident last time. The two Alexes almost getting into it. Rossi on exit, Palou on entry. And when you got a short track, you've got a lot of different things going on there. And that might have been some spotter snoozing. But man, that could have been
crucial for this championship battle. Imagine Palou just scoring 10 points after the weekend. An unbelievable scene.
And that would have been yet another rough break for Alexander Rossi, who has had
He
some
can't
solid
catch
results,
up
but
with
is still waiting for the return win here as now all of the remaining cars get the wave by.
Let's see this restart. I don't think anything will happen. We saw that in the restarts last time out. Well, by the end of the race, we got like a Laguna Seca 2023 situation
Right.
where it was restart yellow, restart yellow. So Alex Palou, our new race leader, it could be his first win in an oval, by the way. Let's keep that in mind if he wins today.
Has he not won on it? Oh my gosh, he hasn't.
He has never won in an oval. He's the road course maestro, but he has never won in an oval. And as we see that the order has been shaken up, Palou, Power, McLaughlin, Dixon, Herta, O'Ward, Rahal, Rossi, Rosenquist. Shame for Rosenquist. What is he doing in 9th? And New Garden that stays in 10th.
Bit slow on the pit lane there, I think. And really dropped that gap. Trying to see who else gained there. VK got around Lundqvist. Malukas dropped back from 12th. Grosjean by him. And it looks like Canapino.
back.
Yep.
This is probably just data running because
100%.
I don't think that if something happens, he's not gonna be in contention for anything.
Grab
As we
points
see
if someone
Linus
else
Lundqvist in the
retires.
pits.
I'm curious as to why we're seeing Lundqvist in the points. Maybe it was a start procedure or something like that, Jordy. We saw a lot of guys getting penalties for being offline during the restart. I just think this is the 8 crew gambling here and going for an alt strategy.
Yep, it's 100% a gamble. I don't know how is that gonna help them, but gambles have to be taken. It has been a very lengthy yellow for what the incident was.
Yeah. 100%.
As we see a lot of lapped cars between Power and McLaughlin.
So this is now the racing that we are looking for, although not being breeded technically naturally, we are going to see lapped cars be a big factor here on the restart.
Definitely. They're going to be a factor if they don't get allowed to move out of the way. I think it's going to be a huge factor. But not for these two guys, Power and Palou. They are still up ahead in the front as we prepare for the restart. Jack.
Alex Palou. I don't know if his full name is Alexander. Will Power, Scott McLaughlin, Dixon, and Herta. Scott Dixon and Michael have been cooking up strategies forever. Could he work his way up front and get past these cars? It could be a game of outlaw here as we go back to green. Already an early move for for Kiffin Simpson here as the two Ed Carpenter guys go down low to try and make something happen. Watch Colton Herta on the outside here to make the move around Colton Herta, and potentially Scott Dixon doesn't quite make it to Dixon, but gets around Marcus Armstrong. He's still in 5th. Rossi with a good move on the outside of Kirkwood. He'll make that happen. As we also see Scott McLaughlin make a move, not for position, but again, any kind of real estate here on track is going to benefit. Joseph Newgarden on the move here. Grosjean wants it as well, though. He'll try the inside as they almost bang fenders going into turn 3, Jordy.
Almost touching their Grosjean and Newgarden, but yeah, we saw their McLaughlin getting past quickly between the ways of the lapped cars over there. We got Longard, Simpson, Ray Robb, but yeah, it was a very, very good restart for everyone. No incident so far. And Palou, who can't quite get away from Power there in the front, as we see Ferrucci on a move on Catherine Ledge.
Run the outside of Cat Leg as Newgarden finally gets that move done on Grosjean on the outside there into turn 1.
Oh, someone with issues. It's a Juncos.
I want to say that's got to be Canapino, as now it's Connor Daly starting to get a move on the other Dale Coyne driver. He gets through the 51 in the 18. Both those guys.
Yeah, Connor Daly, let's remember, he's a pole seater here in Iowa in 22. With a Carlin, he scored the pole position. I don't know for which race, but he did.
Rest in peace, Carlin. Gone but not forgotten. Spiritually
Absolutely.
success by Prema, basically. Hopefully. We'll see.
Hopefully not with the same.
Not in pace, but
Success.
in like mentality.
Yeah, exactly. The
Of
European
junior team
minds
goes to
cannot
America.
comprehend this. As we
So
see now,
Power
Lundgaard got past Power
left
over there.
lap traffic, so still not a factor, but still Hy-Vee car putting on a show here on Hy-Vee IndyCar weekend.
Yeah, it's part of the sponsorship deal.
Exactly. For the sponsorship bonus, we need you to pass 15 cars as Ferrucci is really getting it going on now. That's around Felix Rosenquist, who's dropped back big time since this restart. It's him and Malukas in 13th and 14th. Renus VK in 15th, still looking for a solid result here, as Ferrucci is now really trying to play outrun and catch this up.
Ferrucci's on a roll, as we see Lundgaard there pressuring Alex Palou. I think he's gonna let him by because Palou cannot afford a fight with a lap car at the moment. Let's see what he does.
Trying to unlap himself as the Grosjean-Newgarden battle continues here. Grosjean gets back by him at some point in the back stretches. Now Ferrucci will strike on him. The guy that almost replaced him at Iowa a couple years ago will go around him. Newgarden down to 12th. Here's your replay, Jordy.
Yeah, it always gets hairy when you are racing Roman Grosjean, and I think more in an oval. But they touched, didn't they, Jackson?
Just a bit of contact there between the wheels. It looked like we'll run it at full time here as he gets a good momentum roll, but gets checked up there by one of the cars in front, and both him and Ferrucci are able to pounce. Ericsson 2 laps down, Jordy?
I think so, yeah. He's now got past. As Ferrucci now makes a move on Grosjean easily. What Newgarden couldn't do, Ferrucci just does it in an eye blink.
But now Newgarden's going to want to try and make a move around. Not quite there momentum-wise.
Yep.
As Ferrucci and Grosjean are now battling two guys
Ferrucci's
with a healthy history. Ferrucci is a man on a mission, Jordy. Yeah.
Kirkwood is not going to let that happen. Kirkwood's still defending his position. They kind of touched there with the rear left tire there as Ferrucci down the inside, side by side. Oh, this is getting hairy.
This is cinema. Ferrucci said, "This is boring. I'll give you guys a show." As yet another guy he's had some history with this. They touch! Smoke on the side pod of Kyle Kirkwood as they're still side by side.
Oh my God, how did
Shades of Sage Karaman, Ed Carpenter in 2015 as they continue to battle. They go into a conga line, and now Kirkwood saying, "I'm getting out of here," and gets by Graham Rahal. Ferrucci wants to get by him as well, as now we finally got a show just at the halfway point here of the two-step 150. Ferrucci looking for a way around, gets arrow wash from Colton Herta. I'm not going to let Tom Gaymore take the show because we're finally getting one. Ferrucci wants some more here for 8th on the inside, almost 3 wide into turn number 1.
Oh my God. This is IndyCar racing, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we've been missing for the last 130 laps. It's finally here.
Caution's not breeding cautions quite yet, but they're bringing in some damn good racing. As I want to say, Jordy, we're getting some direct sunlight on the track here, and that might be bringing the grip down just so slightly. Meanwhile, up front, Will Power's gotten that gap down to just a quarter of a second. I'm not sure what the story is with Marcus Ericsson, though. He's about, 2 laps down now?
Yeah, probably. He's 26, 2 laps down in 26th. Just data running at this point, as is Canapino. But yeah, I think the sun is playing a factor now. Looks like the clouds have gone away, and now we see again this beautiful battle between Ferrucci, Rahal, and Kyle Kirkwood for P8 as Power keeps reducing the gap to Palou there. Let's see, this could be a very great showdown as Marcus Ericsson has the best seat in the house for this battle.
100% as gap has gained ever so slightly. Jordy, I don't think he's going to want Ericsson to pass here just because it seems like clean air is such a luxury, especially on a short track here like Iowa, where you need all the grip you can, both for pace and for tire drag.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to let Ericsson go past anytime soon. especially because it's a battle for the lead, but Ericsson probably will want to not finish 2 laps down. And yeah, the gap keeps reducing there between Power and Palou. This could be a very beautiful ending of the race, but still a very long race to go.
Will Power has silently worked his way into championship contention. A guy that was winless last season, but has consistently finished in the top 10. And
that consistency gave him the 2022 championship. If we remember,
Exactly.
he only won 1 race. We got the likes of Award who won 2. We got several other drivers who won several races, but it was Power at the end of the day.
And I think that's showing the maturity of an IndyCar driver and what it kind of takes to win championships. And as boring as that might seem on paper, it's being able to manage the chaos, manage the melee, and just consistently get your car in the top 10, in the top 5, lead laps where you can. And obviously we know Will Power's Mr. Saturday, and picking up some extra points from pole doesn't hurt, but this really is a game of consistency, Jordy.
Exactly. And yeah, as you said, for some people it might be boring. In 2022, no one was talking about Power, and yet he won the championship. But at the end of the day, I think consistency is a driver's best attribute, and Power is one of the most consistent on the IndyCar grid. Of course, we couldn't see it last season, but this season he's back on his zone, back on his level, as we see there a replay of Ferrucci and Rahal getting hairy there.
Almost chops the nose there off of Ferrucci, Graham Rahal, as they go back into the conga line into turn 1. Excuse me. Here's your replay again, as Ferrucci actually seemed to lift out of it himself and kind of know that Rahal was going to go low. Here's your replay. I know exactly what we're looking at here. Watch the wiggle from Palou on this restart. Managed to keep it in one piece, as that might have been a repeat of the crash from yesterday, which still kind of remains an enigma to me. The front stretch crash for Palou.
Yeah, it could be a driver error, but it's very rare to see in someone like Palou. What in his 4 IndyCar career years, he has had 3 mistakes. So it's still, yet as we saw a driver there diving into the pits, I think it was Daly.
You would be correct. Again, was the first guy to pit earlier, and don't think we're quite in the range for second round of pit stops just yet.
Ericsson all over the back of Power there.
He's saying this battle's great, guys, but I really need to get a move on here if I want any chances of solid points here.
Exactly.
And we talk about guys who have had kind of a mid-season turnaround. First couple of races here, it was some real growing pains for Ericsson working his way into this 28 car, Grosjean's old car, the Andretti Global 28. But ever since the 500 and Detroit, he's really kind of turned it on and has made some really magic moments here with this Delaware Life Honda, Jordy.
Yeah, even I think he had the last lap move yesterday that the cameras didn't catch, but I saw it on Twitter there. Absolutely an amazing move. And yeah, it's good to see Ericsson getting into the zone, getting comfortable with the car, especially after a very rough start, as we see here. Newgarden is still behind Grosjean.
Team communication, I don't know if Omi can get us to it in time.
Making the outside group work. Middle of 3, off of 4. Going out of 2. They're relaying that message.
So it sounds like, Jordy, he's asking Tim, strategist Tim Cindric, if he can potentially try making the outside groove work into turns 3 and 4, which is where we've seen a majority of the moves for Newgarden so far.
Yeah, I think it's desperation at this point that he wants to try new stuff to get past Grosjean, that he has been stuck behind him all race long. And especially that we saw Ferrucci getting past so easily. I think that ignited something in Newgarden. But I want to highlight something. See the gap between Herta and Award. the McLarens are too far, as Connor Daly makes it a 2 out of 2 retirement for the number 18 car.
Not sure if that was a team-based decision or something else. Maybe Tom Gaymore might have an answer for us, as Marcus Ericsson finally gets that move. Will make the meat in this lead battle sandwich here, as now he will try to get past Alexander Palou. I keep saying Alexander Palou, man.
Technically, it's not wrong. Technically.
It just doesn't sound right, as it's going to be a pretty quick effort here, as Ericsson has now technically not unlapped himself, but has gotten himself into this one lap down, and that might check up not just Palou, but everybody. Tom Gaymore, what's in store?
And get the wave round. So that puts Marcus Ericsson in a slightly better position, but really for the main points and prizes, he's very much out of the picture. And the two cars in the picture at the moment, together with Scotty Mack in that 33s machine that's in third place now, cruising up to the back of Will Power. Scott Dixon is actually a bit further behind. So it's a bit of a 3-horse race. Alex Palou, Will Power, Scotty Mack. Scott Dixon will look to close that gap as we get closer and closer to the green flag pit stops that we think we'll have. But as we saw last time, the caution could come out at any moment here at Iowa as we 95 laps to go around this short oval. Alex Palou still in charge.
You heard it from Tom Gaymore. Alex Palou still in charge. Will Power now able to close that gap, though, with Marcus Ericsson getting past both of them. After that, McLaughlin about a second back, then Scott Dixon and Colton Herta. Pato O'Ward and Alexander Rossi still not being quite a factor in this race, have not been able to really get the pace going in daytime running here. But as we heard, Jordy potentially could get some green flag pit stops again here, which could shake things up.
Yeah, still a very clean race for everyone, even though we got our hairy moments. But still, as we see there, Power pressuring Alex Palou, who is desperately seeking his first double win. He got 12 of them, and none of them have been on a 4-turn circuit. So it's going to be a very good milestone for the 2 times INDYCAR champion, and why not, probably soon to be 3 times champion, who is about to shut everybody's mouth that this oval leg of the season would be very complicated for Alex. He's proving us wrong.
We might have something special this weekend. McLaughlin got his first oval win yesterday. That could be the same thing for Alex Palou, as, oh man, you want to talk about what we thought was the Achilles heel. Yeah, Jordy, for Alex Palou to say, nah, this is something I'm rocking at too, and just potentially dominating the back half of this IndyCar season. I mean, obviously still a lot of green flag laps to go until checkered at Nashville, but it does genuinely feel like anything can happen here.
Yeah, and if there's any driver to be scared of his pace, of his talent, it's Alex Palou, 100%. As McLaughlin looks like he's finally catching up with the leaders, huh? Attention here.
Been running clean, and again was kind of getting a bit of arrow wash there from Marcus Ericsson, who was between him and the lead group, as Ericsson's actually managed to really take off here and kind of let everybody up front run in clean air. Lap traffic was a bit of a factor at the start, not so much anymore. One car down on the apron there, as that was Stingray Robb coming out of the pit lane. So up front, McLaughlin now gets that gap to the leader just under a second, with second round of pit stops here just around the corner.
Yep, as we saw there, Stingray Robb inaugurating this second half of the race pit stops. As power, I think he has been as close as he has ever been at this exact moment. Within striking distance now, but he's still yet to catch Palou.
While we're waiting for that, obviously Connor Daly jumping in at Dale Coyne Racing for Jack Harvey. Not entirely sure who we're going to see jumping in that car next. We do know Hunter McLaren has tested, has been a hot topic for guy to jump in one of those Dale Coyne Racing seats, but still think both him and Jack Harvey are a big maybe for running up next at Toronto, Jordy.
Yeah, let's see what happens with Jack, who has had some health issues with some pain he has had in the shoulders. He actually withdrew from the race for that exact same reason. Yeah, but I think the 51 next week was bound to be given to Nolan Sagel, with who of course is now in the McLaren. So I think Hunter has a really good shot at driving for Dale Coyne, but we need to see how Jack Harvey is next week if he's able to race, because if that happens, Dale Coyne Racing need to look for two drivers, not just for one. So kind of difficult situation there for team. So let's see what happens. By the way, Hunter just followed me today on Twitter, so
definitely not a motivation for me to bring that up. No idea what you're talking about. Been a rough season for Dale Coyne Racing, as did not get a driver announcement until pretty much Tuesday of St. Pete, as it has just been musical chairs all year, especially for the 51. 18 started with Colin Braun, and it's been Jack Harvey for the most part. But now here at Iowa, even that's changed. As from Jack Harvey this morning, unfortunately, we're going to have to call it a weekend. I've been meeting with INDYCAR Medical since last week, and it is their recommendation that I do not drive today. This decision totally splits my competitive spirit to the core. I love this DCR team, but I can't give it 100% with this pain. Simply, I can't drive it to the max. There is some relief. Connor Daly will be subbing in today. Wish him and the team best of the race. Really appreciate and support all the messages. We will be back. Gotta give it to the grit that Jack Harvey has had just this whole season, for not just battling through it for last night, but being able to battle through it when it just popped up at Mid-Ohio seemingly out of nowhere, and then qualify the car 3 times yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't think it's not easy for no one, but what Harvey did yesterday, and even starting the race, it was just incredible. Of course, he shouldn't have, but rules are rules, and he still, as we see here, the replay from Alex Palou's stop, he had an issue with the hose there, no?
Yeah, fueling hose, and I think the yellow actually really, really saved him there.
Definitely.
So might have a first time oval win here. We've got another landmark milestone here for his teammate, though, Scott Dixon, who in the middle of this race completed the most laps in IndyCar history.
Oh,
I want you
absolutely.
to guess how many that is, Jordy.
5,000.
54,000 and change.
54,000. Oh my god. Just shy of 50,000 laps, but almost got it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable scenes. I mean, Dixon, an amazing driver. Even after all these 20-something years, he's still competitive. He's still fighting at the front. He's definitely one of, if not the greatest driver in the history of IndyCar, in my opinion.
I mean, not just a guy that's been able to have consistent results, but I mean, as we've seen at Detroit and Long Beach, kind of play the smart approach to winning races, doing strategy and using numerous ways to get him and that number 9 Chip Ganassi crew up to the front, as it feels like the new guard is kind of not new garden, but the new guard of IndyCar drivers is finally kind of been able to go toe to toe. I think obviously Alex Palou being the spearhead of that.
Yeah, I mean, how many generational changes has Dixon been through and still has been up there in front? It's simply unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen something similar in any motorsport. But yeah. He's just great, man. The Iceman is great.
The ability to, I don't know, it's amazing that in a series where you feel like anybody is able to win on any given weekend, and for one guy always be a factor, to always be someone that has that winning formula in one way or another, that's something incredibly special.
Yep. We see Pietro Fittipaldi, the second driver to pit in this second stint. Of course, after Stingray Rob. I don't think we can be counting daily.
Not
because
really.
It was unscheduled. As we see Power still pressuring Alex Palou as we enter lap 184.
Was looking down the inside a couple of times there, but Palou has since gotten that gap up to about half a second. Not sure if it's just impossible to pass or if guys are playing it safe at this stage in the race. Let's go through the field really quickly with the NBC gang. I'm putting Jordy on the spot. Or not Jordy, Omi.
His green flag in lap. If this thing stays green, how can he make up ground as he comes to pit lane?
Scott Dixon running fourth right now. He was fourth yesterday in what we call a bit of a messy race on track in the pits, a little bit of everything. But if he can leave here with 2 top 5s, that's a good point for the PNC Bank machine. And that's what it's about right now for Scott Dixon. Never a track that he's won at, but 2 strong results if he can pull it off. Well, something for number 60. Issues with the number 60.
Broken right rear, it looks like, for Felix Rosenquist. You can see the team loading up the right rear. And it's almost like the push rod broke back there.
I've never.
And what looked like some consistently good running and the potential of a top 10 for Felix Rosenquist has unfortunately just gone out the window, Jordy.
Yeah, it's such a shame. As I was saying, he was on for a strong top 5 result. He was all over the back of Herta. The pit stops came and he simply disappeared. He fell down to P13. He was running ahead of his teammate and just for X or Y couldn't materialize this weekend. It seems like
bug.
I'm not saying that's what happened today, but it looks like Felix's weaknesses have been the races ever since he got to IndyCar, hasn't them?
Although it definitely just feels like a lot of this stuff, especially with what just happened, is bad luck. Although it's hard for us to say that right now on whether that was a driver-induced mechanical failure or not. Couple of pit stops already, Christian Lundgaard and a couple others. Let's go back through the field with the NBC gang.
We'll see what he can do. It's definitely a lot smoother than what last night went after he relinquished the lead. There were problems on track, problems in the pits. We'll see. And we fall back to the arrow on board of Pato O'Ward, one of the hottest drivers in the series right now, coming off a great win at Mid-Ohio, beating the great Alex Palou there. O'Ward has won here in Iowa back in 2022. He runs in the top 10 right now, 6th in fact.
Mission Food on board, giving us shots of Alex Rossi running back here in 7th. Started 6th yesterday, started 7th, finished 8th. So it's been quiet and consistent runs here for Rossi as he has to deal with traffic coming out on track right in front of him. Happy with the car, just not quite the out-and-out pace they need to be fighting at the front after a mishap in qualifying.
Right behind Alexander Rossi. Oh, Rosenquist is out. That's game over for Fro. and the Sirius XM Auto Nation Lion Shank Honda.
Look, I know that he's disappointed to be out of this race, but a right rear failure that didn't result in a car in the wall, there's a silver lining here. That could have been a written off race car and a potentially injured driver. That's the sort of failure we saw out of Joseph Newgard a few years back while leading this race. Set him into the wall pretty hard.
Take a look at Felix Rosenquist here. You guys.
Nolan Siegel, we just saw back in the pit lanes, but that is the day done, unfortunately, for Felix Rosenquist, as I'm hoping we can get a replay as to when or how that might have happened.
Yeah, exactly. Really mysterious at the moment. Oh, there it is. There it is.
This might be it.
So that's he's already damaged.
Oh, he is.
As we see the leader, well, not the leader anymore, but we see one of the leaders into the pits, Scott McLaughlin.
McLaughlin, as well as Ferrucci and VK. What should be the final stop of the day. And again, we've seen some struggles here on pit exit, especially with fueling and with car restarts. Nothing of the sort for McLaughlin, as do you think it is kind of funny that Felix Rosenquist's timer is still going? But Marcus Armstrong in the pit lane, as well, Polo and Power still to pit. Oh, 100%. Also for Anna Hember to just come on the comms and just be like, guys, Felix Rosenquist is broken.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, as we said, such shame, especially for Felix and the Major Shank team. Not the best luck they've had. Of course, last week, Malukas started P3, clutch issues at the start of the race, and then after his pit stop, denied him from a solid top 5 start. Of course, Laguna Seca, he was running strong for a top 10 finish. He had a small touch with a ward, which cost him a puncture, and ended up outside the top 10. And Felix, that hasn't finished in the top 10 in all of these races. Well, has he? No, I don't remember.
Rossi muscling this car into the pit lanes here. One of the still bumpiest and loose parts of the track there.
Fair tattoo.
Herta in, Grosjean on pit exit here. As track remains green for now, but this was the time where we were seeing the chaos of cars almost colliding. Obviously, cars also spinning on pit exit. As set of clean stops there for the current and former Andretti driver.
Yep, Sun out of the pits, nice and easy. It's very interesting to see, like, for example, we're going to see it right now with Pato. His pit box is in the middle of a corner. I think he had exactly the same issue in Toronto a couple of years back, where his pit box was immediately in front of the wall. So, yeah, that's the goofiness of INDYCAR as well, having goofy pit stops.
And also having guys directly in the box in front of you, which I feel like was why the...
Look at that exit, man. Unbelievable stuff.
And that's Colton Herta's box right behind him, and he has to essentially tiptoe his way out of the box and just have such a wide angle when exiting. And that's what gave the lead to McLaughlin last night during the race outside of pit row.
Yep, exactly. As we see now, Power out of the pits. Let's see where he stands at. And hopefully there's no a yellow flag at this exact point of the race.
Don't jinx it, Jordy, but Linus Lundqvist is the leader. For now, we'll get a healthy dose of laps led points. Just, I believe, just one.
Well, yeah, of course, wanting to score the maximum points after his crash, well, his accident, I think, last night. I remember he couldn't continue in the race. As we see now, Power has jumped Alex Palou.
This is the battle for the lead now, provisionally, as Power has now finally gotten around on slightly more broken in tires and maybe a bit more momentum on pit exit. These guys didn't come into pit row at the same time, and Palou could potentially fight back. But for everybody else, McLaughlin is way, way back there right now and won't be a factor. So Linus Lundqvist leads for the time being, but it is Will Power at front.
sometimes the graphics just tweak there. So,
Yep.
But I think Lundqvist was into the pits. We're gonna see it now. Yeah.
There you go. He was. Thank you, Omi. As Lundqvist now dropping back, and I think everyone kind of trying to reshuffle. Again, the shortest track that we go to on the IndyCar calendar, so timing not always 100% here. Just so much going on in such a tight area. Kind of hard to track everything at the same time, especially with cars rotating in the pits.
Just
As now
27 cars going around in circles
Exactly.
in a very small space. We saw the Roman Grosjean going out of the way of the leaders. Very nice from him.
It seems like, 15, 16 cars still on the lead lap?
Yep, exactly. Looks like the top
Yep,
16 is in the lead lap. Nolan
And Siegel's
Seigel, the
watching
last.
Power get right up to him.
Yeah, he's gonna eat him anytime soon.
So for the first time here, it seems like we actually had a full round of green flag pit stops. And we'll step away for a moment here and let Tom Gaymore walk us through what's going on.
Gonna be the day that Will Power takes his car to victory lane. He started this weekend second in points. He had a horror show yesterday by his standards. He desperately needs the points today, and he needs the points over his championship rival, Alex Palou, in that Chip Ganassi machine, who's right in the wheel tracks of that Team Penske Chevy as they head out of turn 4, and the lap traffic in front of Will Power is going to do nothing for his heart rate. It's going to do nothing for the balance of his car as well. The Will Power is in the driving seat, but he's got the surgeon, Alex Palou, who's hunting for his first ever oval win. It's amazing to think that Alex Palou, with all the success he's had, with the talent that he has, he's never ever won on an oval. Can he wrestle back that position that he lost to Will Power in the last round of pit stop? The overcut for the Team Penske man was, in the end, too much for Chip Ganassi and Alex Palou. And if you look at the undercuts, they had all options covered. They took that with Scotty Mack. The undercut definitely didn't work. Scotty Mack is a couple of seconds behind in traffic. And now it's definitely gone from a 3-4 race to a 2-4 race with the cautions we saw late on yesterday's race. What will we see come the final 20 or so laps here? Not long to go. That's 290 now. 31 laps around this 0.94 miles per second. Oh, Scotty Mack. Yesterday's winner is still a big point for him. A good day in the office, but he'll prove that bad up. And the caution period is to still chances to get out front in the first 15 sequence.
Thirty laps to go. Power has managed to take lead from Alex Palou, who is trying to get his first oval in IndyCar, but as we heard from Tom Gaymore, McLaughlin has kind of remained to be a factor in the close stages of this race. It's a two-horse show now, Jordy.
Yeah, it's completely the end to a here. 30 lap go. We saw this again yesterday with different Taiwanese. This time it's Power and Palou trying to prove the world that he can win an oval. Will Power just trying to steal the championship somehow? But yeah, still remember that if things finish like this, the gap between first and second place in the championship is still around 37, 38 points. So we still got a tight battle in the championship standings.
Quick heads up for anybody watching in America, due to NBC's news coverage of the presidential address, should be a movement from NBC to CNBC in several minutes if that changes. Might have changed already for some of you, but we will see. Because we are living through a major historical event right now in America, and I don't really want to talk about it. Willpower is in the pits right now, or no, that's a replay.
No, that's a
Shorty,
replay.
what's going on there?
It looks like something with the visor.
I want to say,
Cover,
yeah,
I
almost.
guess.
It almost seems like hand soreness. It looked like.
Yeah, but at least he got that addressed in the pits and not really during the race, because that could be scary. We see there's Scott Dixon. I think he's about to catch McLaughlin. Yeah, he's about to catch McLaughlin. Scott Dixon got denied from a podium last night. He wants to change that today.
He is right on the gearbox now of Scott McLaughlin, who has slowly but surely been kind of closing the gap from St. Petersburg since his major points penalty. Dixon obviously has consistently been in this title fight since, well, Long Beach. But some consistent running has put McLaughlin, as you mentioned earlier in the points as they run, Jordy, if McLaughlin runs the ovals like he ran last night, he could really be a factor here towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and something that has caught my attention is the fact that after the disqualifications in St. Pete, of course, involving McLaughlin and Newgarden, looks like the New Zealander has had a better recovery throughout the season than the American. And of course, if we remember, Newgarden won the Indy 500, but even outside of that, where has he been? I think McLaughlin has been the superior driver all along this season.
100%. And, you know, a lot of that is maybe down to the not official, but seemingly very real Indy 500 hangover that Joseph Newgarden's had, that almost every driver has kind of had since winning after winning the 500. And obviously Detroit was just in general a show of madness that kind of shook up everybody's championship point standings. But as we're getting kind of into the closing stages of this, it feels like McLaughlin just might be able to, especially if he can close this gap to Palou and maybe get some points over him.
Yeah, exactly. I think at the end of the season, the realistic choices for the championship battle are going to be Power, Palou, and Dixon. That's like the realistic. But I can see Award and McLaughlin very close behind them by the time the season ends.
100%.
I really thought Palou was going to be struggling more in ovals, but as we're seeing right now, he's not. And we got the Wall Street graphics again.
We were talking about this because this is kind of confusing. We're still trying to figure out, and Omi might be able to verify this for us, if it's the green that's technically they're using the hybrid, or if they're charging it. We're not sure if red means they're using it, or we don't know what means what.
I think from last week, the green was when you are charging it, and the red is when you are using it. I think.
I just wish they had like a little battery on it or something.
Exactly.
Let's do our own little through the field here with about 15 laps to go, and just kind of some closing remarks if they run the way they do right now. David Malukas, obviously now the lone guy throwing the flag for Shank, has had a consistent race. We'll probably be hoping for a bit better for 15th. Ferrucci was a really, really strong runner early on. He might have to settle for 14th. I think Linus Lundqvist will be happy with a 13th place finish, though, especially after a couple of rough results.
So I can confirm that green is recharging and red is deploy.
Gotcha. Thank you, Omi.
Perfect.
Green is recharge, red is redeploy.
It's not that we're seeing that graphic too often. And for the rest of the season, given we're only going to 2 road courses after this one.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Roman Grosjean has been fairly consistent, has still been waiting for some solid oval results. Think he'll be happy with a P12. Rinus VK had his first top 5 in ages since, I believe, Iowa 22, Jordy. But again, I think just being outside the top 10, I think it'll be hard for Rinus to complain.
Yeah, Rinus' first top 5 in over a year and a half. The last one came in 2022, the first race. He finished P4. He was the best non-Penske and Arrow McLaren driver that race. So really solid from Rinus last week, and especially this year. The last 2 years for Rinus, probably since his accident in the bicycle in 2021,
right?
He hasn't seemed quite recovered yet, but surely the top 5 yesterday is a big boost for his morale, and hopefully he can get back to the level he showed at the start of 2021. He was an amazing driver, probably getting championship shouts. He won with a Ned Carpenter car, if you remember, there in the Indy Grand Prix. Unreal driver, but shame he got his accident and he hasn't recovered since. Although he got a podium in Barber in 2022, remember? When he finished behind. He was leading, he was overtaking Rowdy outside by a ward, and he ended up in second, but ahead of Palou.
It's not over up here at the front of the field. Palou looking for a way around Will Power, as now they are right on the gearbox of Nolan Siegel. And with a cut here into the lap traffic, this is going to potentially end it. But Palou is right on Will Power, Jordy.
What will Will Power do today, ladies and gentlemen? Because he has to manage these lapped cars, because Palou looks like he's gonna go for it. But as we saw yesterday, it's very hard to overtake here. He's closing the gap, but I don't think it's gonna be enough, even though we got lapped cars in front. Four laps to go. Newgarden Power still in the lead. I think it's gonna end like this, but this is IndyCar.
It's gonna be a nail biter.
Yeah, exactly. Yesterday was a nail biter, and they weren't as close as Palou and Power are today. But he's gonna take it, but by an inch, I think.
It'll be close here. Three laps to go. As just ahead, it's David Malukas looking in his mirrors at the car he was supposed to drive at St. Petersburg in Nolan Siegel in the 6s. He's looking away around him up front. But right now, it is all about Will Power, who has been so quiet since he won his 22 championship up until the halfway point of this season, as he'll see the white flag. An individual who was struggling last season. His wife Liz hospitalized for a majority of last year and was unable to naturally focus on that. He described his win at Road America as a breath of fresh air, and despite his winless campaign, was still a conversation in the championship. He's been silent again, but he is going to be a factor as Will Power has shouted himself back into this conversation in the championship as Rob is on his lid. And it's a huge checkup.
What a crash.
And the carnage doesn't come until the checkered flag, Jordy.
Oh my God, what happened there? Kyle Kirkwood there with the wheel of Ed Carpenter in the head. Oh my God. Unbelievable scenes. It's Stingray Rob, it's Ed Carpenter, it's Alex Rossi there, and Kyle Kirkwood. I don't know if this was before or after the checkered flag, but absolutely scary scenes here in Iowa. As we see there, Kyle is okay, and Will Power's win overshadowed by this incident.
Seems like it, as they are unable to get Kirkwood out of that car, as there seems to be anxiety. Ed Carpenter able to get over there outside of his power.
And let's remember these
on his own powers
are electricides. They got the hybrid system, so it might be dangerous to stay in the car for that very long. Stingray Rob getting flipped on his head again.
Still inside that car. Notice how slowly they are trying to get that car right side up again to mitigate any injuries that Stingray might have had, as thank the good Lord Kyle Kirkwood manages to get out on his own as
And Stingray Rob
spark of flame there,
on
yeah.
fire.
As
Yeah, scary scenes here in Iowa.
I'm hoping that Stingray can get out on his own power, as there's almost 15 people now surrounding that. And that might be
there's Alex.
shakeup of the final result here, as both of those guys will walk together. As we take a look at your podium, Will Powers, first oval win since Pocono 2018, 2019?
I think it was 18.
2019.
Pocono was in 19. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was 19.
Won the last IndyCar race at Pocono and has not won an oval since then. Has obviously won a plethora of road courses, won a handful on his way to his 22 championship. And of course, most recently, Road America. But once again, another burst of wind in the sails for Will Power, and potentially going to get this championship and bring the fight to Alex Palou. Fellow Penske driver Scotty Mackey giving him some love, as we take it down to pit lane to hear from our race winner.
And this is number 10 on an oval. As you've talked about, he now loves this style of racing. It took him a little while. To win number 42. Now he's passed Michael Andretti for number 43. But first of all, how did you go from where you started in the back to win this race?
Massive fuel save. Honestly, just sitting in the pack. Had a really good car, really fast car. So I just sat back and used that pace to save fuel. Just getting a massive number, and I knew once all those guys pulled in, I could go hard. And then we caught a yellow, because that was sort of the thing we were hoping for, is to get one of those yellows, put us to the front, and then we were able to get better fuel behind Palou and then go a couple laps longer than him and jump him. So I've been trying to win this race for years. So over the moon, the guys did a great job. I felt really bad for him yesterday when I accidentally buttoned off on the pit speed limiter and ruined our day. But we're right in the game, and got to thank Verizon and Chevy for such tremendous support, and going to fight this hard to the end.
Only 35 points back in the championship now. It had been 5 years since you'd won an oval. Was that starting to weigh on your mind a little bit? Because I know how much you now love this style of racing.
It was, actually. I thought coming into the season, I'm going to win an oval this year. I want to win an oval. I want to win multiple races, and we're still pushing and getting it done. Thanks, Ron. Thank you.
Mostly green. How are you physically with this long run in the heat today?
Yeah, I was good. It's fine physically. It's a bit heavy at the end there when we were pushing hard on tires, but yeah, it's all good.
Congratulations. Will Power has won at Iowa to Georgia.
Alex Palou comes home second. And Alex, I know you wanted one spot further, but after yesterday, you're finishing on the podium today. Can you consider today a successful day?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good weekend. I mean, yesterday was a terrible day for us. Just made too many mistakes, but rebounded today. Almost got the win. I mean, it was really tough to pass. I think nobody could pass. They got us on the pits because they had a little bit more fuel, same as what we did to the 3 cars. So yeah, solid P2. Looking forward to Toronto next week. But yeah, it was overall a good weekend.
Solid day and a big rebound for Alex Palou.
Well done. Really good. We said right from the start he was on the road to redemption for what happened yesterday. AMR safety team still working with Stingray Rob. You see the youngster from Idaho. He's kind of sitting on the edge of the aero screen.
So it looks like they will get Stingray Rob on the stretcher there, as here is your replay as gets off of the wheel of Alexander Rossi, stays out of the catch fence, but rolls a handful of times here before kind of resting on his lid and taking it all the way down to the apron, as Rossi, without control, collects Kyle Kirkwood and Ed Carpenter in the process. Thank God for the arrow screen, as Ed Carpenter sees it as well, tries to get out of it. So too does Kyle Kirkwood. Both of those guys actually losing it on their own there.
Insane airtime there by Stingray Rob. Like insane. How much time was he in the air?
Rob will take it to the ambulance. Our thoughts are with him, but we are happy that he was able to get out of the car, and we're seeing smiles from him with the AMR safety team.
Good to see. Good to see.
Will Powers finished runner-up here numerous times at Iowa. He finally gets his win and gets himself just 35 points back as Stingray Rob. I'm going to need... I can now finally say this heart to heart. The Stingray Rob result graphic with like the really crusty MLG graphics is something that keeps me going, Jordy. So I'm still going to need that at some point. Obviously, the David Malukas graphics are great too, but let's hear some closing thoughts. It's going to come back. Let's go. Let's go. Let's hear some closing thoughts here, though, from yourself, Jordy.
From you or from Scott?
Yeah, from you. From you. Yeah.
From me. Yeah. Well, strange race, kind of boring for IndyCar standards, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have a close finish with no overtakes than a not close finish with no overtakes, because oval races are always great. The strategy always plays a point. Of course, the first stint was kind of boring. There was no overtakes in the first half of the field. Come the pit stops, the order shakes up a bit. And it was really nice to see because we got at least a lead change between Power and Palou there. As we see now the standings after today's race, Alex Palou still in the lead of the field, followed by Will Power, 35 points behind. Pato O'Ward, 52 points behind, still strong in this championship hunt. In fourth place, Scott Dixon with 57 points behind. McLaughlin fifth with 66 points behind. And Colton Curta with 75 points behind. All of them, I think they are the realistic championship hunters. Kyle Kirk with his seventh, but with 105 points behind. And I'd like to see how the order of the race changed after that accident in the final
100%.
lap. Because we got Rossi involved, which I think he was like in 8th. So we will see what happened there. Stingray Rob, not too much affected. He was several laps down behind in the last places. As we see their Power with his wife and his son. Always a good sight to see families in IndyCar, especially after what they went through last year. So
100%.
Very happy for Will, actually. 2 wins this year, 1 more than the year he won the championship in 2022. So I think it's a very, very strong contender, and I think he's going to be Palou's biggest headache coming into the end of the season.
100%. It's starting to become a powerful season here in 2024 as we're finally seeing a little bit of a shakeup, kind of as we saw a 2-man race at the end of this. It could be a 2-man championship battle towards the tail end here between this man right here, Will Power, and Alex Palou. But again, still a lot of running to do. Omi, any closing thoughts from yourself?
From IndyCar standards, of course, not the best race. Did have some action though, at times as well. But yeah, hopefully IndyCar will return back to how IndyCar should be from the next in the next few races. But yeah, IndyCar so far this season's been great. A little bit of a letdown this time around, but I'm sure it'll return back to being amazing in the next few rounds. But yeah, great race and well done to you guys for the call.
Thank you very much. Getting set up for concert time here, and then we take this show over to the streets of Toronto for the final street race of the year, which will be, of course, next Sunday morning, which you can catch right here again on JBMotorsports for the Honda Indy Toronto, the penultimate road course of the year. Till then, for Jordy and Omi, I'm Jackson Lambros. Let passion fuel ya. We'll see you next time.